welcome back to the most recent episode of What's Cosell Watching. And this one is a documentary that premiered on November 3rd about a American icon, perhaps one of the last leading men of the traditional sense, a true A-lister. Sylvester Stallone came out on Netflix, nicknamed Sly, and that's the name of this particular documentary, talking about his life and career. And you know what? As someone that is so embedded in boxing, how could I not like Sylvester Stallone? And I'll admit it, I came into this a little bit biased given the fact that I'm a big fan of that franchise. And generally, I've enjoyed much of what Sylvester Stallone has put out the last 40, 50 years as a Hollywood actor. But it truly is an American story of perseverance, faith, and self-belief. Because if you look at the story of Sylvester Stallone, this is a guy that was not a classically trained actor, I guess. No one ever thought of him as like, wow, this is the greatest actor of all time. And his look, while he's ruggedly handsome, people will tell you that, hey, he didn't really have the classic looks either of, let's say, a Clark Gable. But what is really appealing to me is his self-belief. And he really jump-started his career, obviously, with the Rocky franchise. And I'm sure many of you have heard the story. Not only did he write it, okay, this is his story, and he pieced together a lot of elements to it. It's basically a love story about a boxer, basically, in my view. But what really made it interesting to me and to many people is that when he shopped this script around, he made it clear, because he knew he was always going to be typecast as like a secondary or a character actor that's going to play some goon. He basically said, you know what? I'm going to be the role of Rocky Balboa. I'm going to be the star. And it was his self-belief that really triggered everything. And people offered him a pretty substantial amount of money to walk away from his own script. And he said, you know what? At the end of the day, the money will run out, but the regret never will if I do not do this. And the rest is history. And I know certain boxing purists may not like the movie for whatever reason, and certain people did not like it when he was inducted into the International Boxing Hall of Fame. My argument is the impact that he made and the influence he had that was very positive for the sport of boxing, I think it's incredibly well-deserved. And another interesting facet of this production is that it centers around his move. And I guess it's already happened, but he's moving out of this big, expansive, fancy mansion. I'm assuming it was in the Southern California area. And he said for the last chapter of his life, to keep from getting bored or complacent, that he was going to move. And I guess he moved to South Florida. Maybe it was the taxes. Maybe he liked the government down there a little bit better. But he also reflected on something that was incredibly poignant to me. And now at my age, it kind of made me think. He said the first 40 years of your life is about additional friends, working, jobs, you add things. The last 40 years of your life, you lose things, that you lose friends and family, and things that were once taken for granted are no longer there. They're slowly stripped away. And as you see this house being packed up by workers and everything being kind of carefully packaged, it really was interesting the way they did it. And, but I do come away with this with more admiration for Sylvester Stallone and also many of the people that played a role in his career, like Frank Stallone, who I've known for years from boxing gyms, and he's a boxing historian. And there were some very candid, blunt things said about their relationships and how it affected both careers. So if you are a Rocky fan or an admirer of Sylvester Stallone, I would highly recommend it. My approval ratings for Sly, in terms of binge-worthiness, it's only one part, about 96 minutes, I believe. I gave that a 20. It's a nice, quick, easy watch. I thought it could have been actually a couple of chapters, like the Arnold Schwarzenegger documentary. But again, it's one episode. I enjoyed it. Also, cast and acting. Well, it's a documentary about an actor, and they cast it perfectly, so I'll give it a 20. In terms of entertainment value, I learned a few things in terms of the entertainment business and also a few things about Mr. Stallone. And then finally, storyline and impact. Look, I didn't move much of the story, but again, I'm still very glad that I saw it. So I gave it a 15. So overall, I gave it an 80 for Sly on Netflix. And that's the latest. What is Cosell watching?
If you enjoyed that video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you never miss a moment of Fearless.